to the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
Yes, I do, and in particular I stand by this government's action to restore responsibilities for Kāinga tenants to respect their home and their neighbours if they want to remain in their state house. The status quo is not fair on neighbours faced with disruptive or abusive behaviour, and nor is it fair on taxpayers who foot the bill to that house, who fail to uphold the standards expected of that rent. And I have to say I agree with that member when he said that he didn't do enough on unruly tenants in 6 years, and that's quite obvious because there's 335 serious complaints every month over the last 3 months, and in particular there's 3 evicted tenants in the last year. So, Mr Speaker, I make no apologies for being tough on making sure Kāinga tenants are meeting their obligations.
Supplementary. Who made the decision to change the criteria for access to disability support entitlements, and was the Cabinet consulted on that decision?
What I'd say on that is that there has been no change to the disability services support budget from the budget that was set in your last government. What there has been is a tightening up of the criteria of the modifications and equipment budget to make sure that disabled people are getting direct support that they need.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. The question was actually who made the decision. The Prime Minister has just indicated that there has been a decision made to change the criteria. I asked him who made that and whether Cabinet was consulted on it.
OK, well, we'll ask it again. We'll pretend it hasn't happened and you can get another answer.
Who made the decision to change the criteria for access to disability support entitlements, and was the Cabinet consulted?
The Ministry made the decision to tighten up the criteria for modifications and equipment, which is a piece of the total disability services budget.
Supplementary. Did the Minister for Disability Issues seek additional funding to meet the shortfall in disability support funding before reducing the entitlement criteria?
Well, what I want to be clear with that member about is that this government is maintaining the total budget that your government signed off for, or that the member's government signed off in May last year. The total budget for disability services has remained unchanged. That is an area of pressure, and that is something that we're considering for our budget with respect to how we can better support frontline services.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. That wasn't the question that was asked. It was actually a very straight question. You indicated yesterday if I ask straight questions, you have more sympathy. The question was very straight and simple. Did the Minister of Disability Issues seek additional funding to meet the shortfall in disability support funding before reducing the entitlement criteria?
Yes, but the answer that came, I did listen to your question, I listened to the answer. The answer came that the government is working at a different process, I suppose you might say, with regards to a more comprehensive, I think the term was full budget approach, which I think does answer the question. It certainly addresses the question, which, as you know,
it cannot possibly address the question, Mr Speaker. With all due respect, it cannot possibly be addressing the question. The Prime Minister has indicated that the overall budget hasn't changed. The question of whether the Minister had asked for more money hasn't been addressed at all.
Well, I think look, OK, Prime Minister can have another crack at it.
As I said, the total budget for disability support services remained unchanged from that member's previous government commitment in the budget last year. 1. Number 2, what I'd say to you is we've got a budget process going between now and when the budget is delayed, and there's an understanding that, yes, we need better support for some frontline services. That will be considered as part of a normal budget process, which the member will well understand.
Supplementary question. Did the Minister for Disability Support Issues ask for more funding to meet the shortfall?
And as I've explained to that member, we're in the middle of a budget process where we are working through the needs of the budget for May. That is part of that process. We are cognizant of the need for better frontline services support in a number of areas, and we're working hard to deliver that.
Supplementary question. What's the estimated funding shortfall for disability support entitlements in the current financial year?
Again, that is a discussion for the budget process, which is up and running right now.
True question. What's the estimated annual cost of reinstating interest deductibility for landlords once that policy is fully implemented?
Well, what I'm very proud about that policy is making sure that it delivers for renters of New Zealand. The Labour Party used to care about renters in New Zealand, but they lifted rents up $170 per week, and we're going to make sure that we don't do that.
Point of order, right on, Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, if the Prime Minister doesn't know, he can say he doesn't know, but to simply not answer the question and then attack the opposition, when the question's a very straight one, there was no assertion in it, it was simply a straight question as to what the cost of a government policy which has been announced is.
Prime Minister.
The total cost is $2.9 billion over 4 years.
Supplementary question then. Why can Cabinet agree on tax cuts for landlords prior to the budget, as announced on the 10th of March and as indicated in the statement that he's just made, but not on boosting disability support funding and instead cutting entitlements for the families who receive them?
I disagree completely with that last part of that statement. What I'm saying to you very clearly, what I'm saying to the member very clearly, is that this government is working to the budget that that member and his government put in place last year. That is the total budget that we're working for. We have a new budget coming at the end of May, and we are considering a range of needs and a range of frontline services.